Hello, my name is Hayden Ramirez, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about initiatives and referendums. I'm going to be talking about what they are, how they impact our democratic processes, where they come from, and how they're a way for citizens to participate more in their own civic government. So first off, just to begin, what are initiatives and what are referendums? So initiatives basically are a way for citizens to propose legislation, a policy, a law, or even a constitutional amendment that would get put on the ballot for people and citizens to vote on come election time. Uh, Referendums, on the other hand, are basically are on the ballot as well, but they are reactions to already enacted and passed pieces of legislation or amendments. So when you vote on them, you say basically whether you approve or you disapprove of that policy that's been enacted, usually by the legislature. So now let's talk a little bit about where these originate from and what does the process look like for bringing about initiatives and referendums. So, according to Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution, initiatives are created by gaining at least 15% of signatures from qualified electors, so voters, and submitting those signatures to the Secretary of State of Arizona. And this process must be done and completed at least 4 months before the upcoming election. The initiative, if the amount of signatures are gathered, that meets the minimum criteria, and it's given to the Secretary of State with that window of notice, the initiative will then be placed on the ballot for the majority of voters to decide on. So that is an initiative. That's how an initiative comes about and gets put on the ballot. Now let's talk about referendums. So according to that same article, Article 4 of the Arizona Constitution, referendums are created by garnering the valid signatures of at least a minimum of 5% of qualified electors, and then again submitting that to the office of the Secretary of State. Only difference is with the window here is it must be proposed and given to the Secretary of State within 90 days of the end of the legislative process, the legislative session, when the policy or piece of legislation was passed that's being put in question. So if the legislature passed something in this first fall session and it's now being put up for referendum, it needs to be proposed. That referendum needs to be proposed within 90 days of the end of that session. Now, what are some of the differences between initiatives and referendums? Well, there's many differences that I've just outlined, but they're both rooted in the ability to increase citizen participation in their own democratic governance. They're rooted also in principles of direct democracy and citizen participation because it kind of gives citizens a way to engage with and not just have a hands-off approach to the creation of legislation and the proposal of amendments. Now, where they differ is because initiatives are proactive while referendums are reactive. So what does that mean? Initiatives allow citizens to garner signatures and work to put a new law or an amendment to a law on the ballot, while referendums are a means by which citizens can react to laws after they are passed, voicing their disapproval or their approval of a specific law. So referendums happen after the law is implemented. Initiatives take place to propose a law, to get a new law on the books. Now, what are some pros and cons of both initiatives and referendums? Some of the pros of an initiative is that it allows citizens to participate in their own democracy. It also places a check on the power of the legislative branch, as citizens can voice their disapproval of actions and influence the law. So if I'm putting on an initiative because I believe that the legislature just hasn't done this because they don't see it as a priority, but look, I've got this many signatures and I've put this on the ballot, it shows that the public views this as a priority. So it kind of serves as a way to for the people to have influence on their own legislation. What are some of the cons of an initiative? Basically, it's difficult for individuals to collect a large number of signatures without some sort of organizational assistance. And the people who do have this organizational assistance and support are usually well-funded interest groups, and they're able to pass initiatives or get initiatives on the ballot to be considered that only benefit themselves. Now, looking at a referendum, what are some of the pros? As well, it serves as a check on the legislative branch more directly, really, because you can voice your direct disapproval of a law or an amendment that's been passed. And it allows citizens to voice their opinions on laws passed by their own Congress. It also motivates people to become more informed and educated on policy issues, specifically local to their state, and to stay informed about what their government is doing, rather than just kind of having a ignorant view of anything that the government is passing or any laws that are being implemented. It really allows people to have a hand-on say in saying that, no, I don't like that law, or actually, yeah, I approve of what our Congress is doing. So what are the cons of referendums? Citizens may have knee-jerk reactions and simplistic attitudes and perceptions of deeply complex laws and policies, which can lead to a repeal of necessary laws because of just general popular opinion or like populist sentiment that comes through. Also, big money interest groups can also spend a lot of money to convince voters to support a referendum on bills that monetarily harm them. So if a bill is passed that places a big tax on a soda company, that soda company can then spend a lot of money to try and get a referendum on the ballot to get rid of that law. So basically, money in politics can influence both referendums and initiatives, and that can be really negative for our democracy. Now, finally, how do initiatives and referendums support the idea of direct democracy as outlined in the Arizona Constitution? Initiatives and referendums support the idea of direct democracy as outlined in the Arizona Constitution by giving citizens more avenues and outlets through which to participate in their own government. It also allows them to become more educated on civics and what's going on in politics in their local area and in their state, and also to place checks and implement reforms on their legislature. The influence of the progressive movement and the push for more reforms can be seen through these processes, as it gives citizens a way to reform their government and influence policy, compared to the way representative democracy is set up, where representatives make decisions kind of detached from citizens once they're elected. So if I am, for example, if I am really upset with the way that something is being done regarding education in the state of Arizona, initiatives and referendums are a way that I and people like me who have similar opinions can kind of bring that matter to the forefront and kind of either make the legislation ourselves or react to legislation that is being passed. So that's a little bit about initiatives and referendums, and I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thank you so much.